Oh, hi, everyone. It is me, Dr. Catherine Toomer, and Dr. Toomer Talks on Tuesday. And thank you for joining in. If you're here, say hi. Let us know you're here. And if you're listening later, just put hashtag replay. And I apologize for not being here last week. I was traveling, and so that's why I have a new background because I'm in somewhere new. So today we actually have a really great discussion because we have Dr. Nicole Perot, and is it Perot or Perot? Did I?
Parrots.
It is Perot. Yeah, because
Yeah,
it's the TTE.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Without the see, I'm just trying to be all fancy.
It's okay.
Going back to my high school French. But anyway,
Right.
so she is here today, board certified internal medicine. She is a wellness coach. She is the founder of Mind You Coaching. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, but primarily we're going to talk about wellness because that's what she does. That's what I do. And we hear it thrown around a lot. A lot of people have no clue what it means, or it's like it's heard so much it doesn't even mean anything anymore. But we're going to make it mean something today. So I'm going to let Nicole, Doctor, I should say, Perrot, because we're friends, so I just call her by her first name. Let her introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what she does.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tumor, for this warm welcome. Dr. Catherine, that works.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Yes, we've known each other for quite a while, and it's such a pleasure to be here today. And I am a board certified internal medicine physician, like Dr. Catherine mentioned, over 18 years of clinical experience.
Mhm.
And I'm also a wellness and life coach.
Mhm.
I agree. Wellness is something that's been tossed around. No one knows the meaning of it anymore, I think, because it's
Yeah.
literally everywhere.
Mhm.
So recently, wellness got transitioned with well being, and actually, the WHO said it's actually a problem. It's a problem that affects a significant portion of adults, working adults. And essentially, what happens is the management of stress, the lack of management of stress, rather. People are not managing stress well, and that's affecting many other areas of their lives. And the stress can be from internal as well as external factors. It could be from work, it could be from money, it could be from your physical health, it could be from your emotional well being. There are so many different areas. There are about 8 areas that we would look at when we're talking about well being. And so, if one of those is not working well, I like the analogy of a tire. Essentially, it's a flat tire when you start leaking air in one of those sections of the pie, which is what a tire is, right? It's like a pie.
Mhm.
And so once it's leaking air, the ride is no longer as bumpy. And it's the same with well being. That
Mhm.
push and pull of internal, external factors, whether it's work, home, whether it's finances, whether it's your emotional well being, once it's not working as well, it's not going to feel good. And if you don't have the tools to manage them, then it just feels even worse.
Mhm.
And so, a lot of people, when that's not managed well over the long term, they end up being burnt out. So, we hear that being thrown out a lot as well, burnout.
Mhm.
That's another one.
Very much so.
Yes, yes.
Yes. Well, I appreciate you saying what you did. Those, and at first, I'd like to say welcome, Don Renee. Thank you for joining in, Chris. Thank you for joining in again. Always, every week. I don't know if I'd know where I was if Chris didn't join in. Um, and so, but it is very important. And I know people who work with me are also a little surprised because they come to me often for weight loss, as you know, and but I address so many other things. I do ask about finances, I ask about sleep, I ask about relationships, I ask about relationships with people and with food, or anything that just causes any type of derailment of someone feeling that they're at their best. And I think that um it's worrisome
Yes.
that wellness has been so thrown around so much that it's being ignored. So well, first of all, I know this is a little off track. You went to school, to medical school in the Caribbean, correct?
Right.
How did you
St.
how did
George's
you
University.
focus? How did you focus? I was like, I think the only reason why I was able to study is because I went to school in Michigan, and so it was winter 9 months out of the year. And so, but if I had beach and sunshine, I don't think I would have done anything. But anyway, you don't have to
You
answer
know
that.
what? Here's the thing. Remember, I grew up in Grenada, so it
Okay,
was
so you're
actually
used to it.
okay. I was used to the sea. I was used to the sun. I was used to the good weather. But I
Okay,
know that some of my classmates were definitely taken for.
very hard.
They couldn't believe what they were in for. They were surprised.
Okay, so let me get back on track. So why is wellness so important? Why is it so important for us to pay attention to our wellness? I know we talk about stress a lot. I talk about stress a lot. Anyone who listens to me knows that I do, and what it does to the body. So, what is your take on that?
We need to pay attention. It's important because once we're not balancing those areas of our lives well,
Mhm.
then yes, we're stressed, but there are also consequences of that, whether it's
Mhm.
emotional, mental, or physical consequences. A lot of the physical ailments that we see, they are stress related. Even weight, even weight. That's
Weight
one of
gain.
the
Hmm.
easy ones to pick up on, because a lot of people tend to put away food and eat food as a way of buffering and not actually dealing with whatever stress, worries, feelings that they're having.
Hmm.
So that's a very common one that's easy to identify.
Hmm.
But it's not just that. It could be lack of sleep, it could be mood swings, irritability, exhaustion, not sleeping well. And so somebody who is in that state is not thriving, they're barely existing. And so that makes it hard. And if you have a good chunk of the population, which is actually the majority, just existing, not thriving,
Hmm.
that is a problem.
Yeah, I would agree. And one of the, you mentioned the weight gain. One of the things I talk about a lot is what cortisol does and how it promotes fat production
Hmm.
in the body. So even when you eat, you can eat the same meal when you're calm and the same meal when you're stressed, and your body does something totally different with it just because of the stress you're under. And so yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So if someone were to say, okay, I am stressed, I have all these issues, my marriage is being affected, my relationship with my children is being affected, I hate going to work because, I'm not getting enough sleep, so I'm groggy in the morning. How can you take someone from that to then functioning and thriving, as you mentioned?
Right. And so there are easy steps that you could take.
Mhm.
You have to be self aware, and that is acknowledging that there is a problem. Some of us are in denial. It's like, oh, there's nothing wrong. Everything is fine when there's clearly everything wrong.
Mhm.
So the key is to actually be self aware and acknowledge, okay, I'm not doing well. I'm not feeling good. This is a problem. I'm suffering. Things are not the way they used to, or things are going downhill really fast. Of course, there is also a role for therapy, and some people may need therapy. But in terms of coaching, that is a different sphere in that
Mhm.
we're looking forward to fix whatever is going on, whatever the problem is.
Okay.
And therapy often will look backwards. And sometimes it's okay. You might need therapy as well as coaching, and there's nothing wrong with doing both. But from a coaching point of view, definitely being self aware, acknowledging what those emotions are. And once you acknowledge it and you say, this is what it is, it takes that power away. It's easy
Mhm.
to say, okay, I'm scared, I'm sad, I'm lonely. Those are all things that are valid. They're just part of being a human being.
Mhm.
So acknowledge it and accept it for what it is and just take that power away. The next thing you could do is to actually look at your thoughts that are around this. Are you beating yourself up because of it? Are you speaking harshly to yourself? Or are you being kind to yourself? Simply being kind to yourself and giving yourself credit, or just saying, yeah, things are kind of crazy right now. It's okay. It happens. That is okay too. And so making sure our thoughts don't dictate that we're going in circles spinning and just digging the well a little bit deeper. So making sure our thoughts are clean and that they don't have to be all positive because sometimes things are bad, but that's
Yeah.
okay. Doesn't mean you dig the hole any further. Another thing you can also do is make sure you find meaningful ways to counteract the stress. And that is something we don't do very much anymore because we're all sedentary or sitting in a car or driving to work, or now a lot of us work remotely, so we're sitting at a desk for a good chunk of the day. But just finding ways to counteract stress, music, physical activity, some sort of creative outlet, taking pictures, going for walks, things that would actually just calm our nervous system down. Those are really good tools and strategies that we could use to actually calm our body down and just give ourselves a little bit of a lift, a little bit of a mood, a good uplifting of the mood. Another thing we could do is also manage our expectations. So
Yes.
not going in, right? Not going
Yeah.
in, oh, it's going to be 100%.
Mhm.
Probably not going to be
Or
100%.
or that little bit I do is going to make a difference tomorrow, instead of being
Right. Yes.
consistent and doing it over and
Yes.
over again, so that your world, your body, your environment gets used to it, to this new normal.
Exactly. Exactly. Yep. So it's not that, oh, let's aim for 100% or we're going to get an instant result tomorrow. Exactly. So
Yes.
just having realistic expectation that sometimes things will take time and we need to progress. And it will be just a matter of one step at a time, taking those steps without being consistent, without fail.
Hmm.
Just keep doing
Yeah,
them.
being consistent.
And
And
then,
I oh, sorry, go
oh
ahead.
no, you're fine. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and being consistent, I often tell people it doesn't mean doing it every single day, all single time. If you can get 80% in, even 70, if you're doing zero and you do 30%, you're still doing way better than before. And so you pat yourself on the back for the things you're doing, instead of criticizing yourself for the things you're not. And that was something you brought up about self-talk. That is,
Hmm.
um, as you know, people come to see me for weight loss,
Right.
and they always seem to think it's like I'm not focusing on weight, because I don't.
Everything but.
Because weight is a symptom of something else,
Right.
and so it's always the something else. And
Right.
so what happens to someone, um, physically, emotionally? You mentioned emotional, environmentally, when they just simply allow stress to go unabated and just unaddressed. What are some of the specific things that happen?
Right. And so you could be looking at weight gain, like we just mentioned, common
Mhm.
one, but also just mood swings, being
Mm,
constantly irritable,
mm,
exhaustion, sleeping all the time. And so they're not in a good mood and it's a chronic situation. They're constantly stressed. They're constantly everything is just the glass is half empty
have fun.
because
Okay.
there's just no way they're able to pull
Mhm.
it forward just because of everything that's been affected. And so those are some of the common emotions that we would see: the irritability, the anger, easily upset. The slightest little thing would trigger them. And it could just be that things are not as balanced as they should be because we don't have those things to counteract.
So at what point should someone then seek help, do you feel?
Oh, we should always seek help once we realize that things are not going well, always. But of course, if someone is extremely stressed and it's affecting their relationships, their home life, their work, then definitely imperative that they seek help. And sometimes that might mean therapy as well, because sometimes this could even go as far as a suicidal ideation. And that is something that we're very familiar in our field. And
Mhm.
so we want to make sure that if it's going in that direction, we actually have the right tools to deal with it.
Mhm.
And that is definitely the stuff that you would need a therapist and a psychiatrist for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, before we continue, I just want to say thank you for joining, Dr. Chigozie. And so when now is some is now in our environment and in our society, particularly with women, we've been sort of taught to ignore the signs of stress.
Mhm.
And so, being a grumpy mom is not uncommon. So we don't even think being irritable means anything because we're always, um, but, eh, you know, and again, I know it kind of sounds like the same question all over again, but at what point does something that's just sort of normal discourse in life, when does that become pathologic? And is it the same for everyone? Is it different for different
Mhm.
people? And so how can people recognize? Because we've been taught to ignore so much. So what are some very tangible signs that we can use if we've learned to ignore all the others?
Right, and that is true. You're right. We do accept it for what it is and say it's just a part of living. This is what this experience is all about. But there are simple things we need to pay attention to.
Mhm,
Someone who is the easy one is someone who is suicidal. That's definitely,
mhm,
it has gone on way too much.
mhm,
But also, we need to look at people who are not sleeping well, people whose work, they're not functioning at work. They're not able to have a good relationship at home because they are so angry, frustrated that it's bordering on probably emotional and verbal abuse. Those are
mhm.
people who would definitely need a lot of extra help. Those are people who need as much support because things have gone on to the point where they are no longer just stressed and they're able to bounce back by simply walking or taking a breathing exercise. Things
Mhm,
are now crumbling inside them, and so things like that, they not able to connect with others because they are
mhm.
so angry, they're so upset all the time. And so
Okay.
when you're in those places, you're not in a space to just take a deep breath and go in
Mhm.
a corner and do yoga.
Yeah,
That's not going to work.
exactly. It's not going to work
It's
anymore.
not going to work.
So if someone were to contact you, so first of all, let me ask you, who do you help and how would somebody contact you and what would they expect if they did?
Right. So I'm pretty much a general life coach, and I would
Okay.
help someone who I'm looking mostly at female physicians and those who are
Mhm.
moms. And a lot of times, many of us have overcome obstacles. We face obstacles and we let those obstacles keep us down as opposed to trying to push ourselves forward. Not realizing that, yes, they happen, but we could actually push ourselves forward and it's not necessarily where we have to stay. We have to learn to reprogram the way we think about stuff.
Yes.
I mean, we need to redo the way we talk to ourselves and
Mhm.
and how we counteract the stress and how we and build that self awareness. And so those are my people that I really would want to help.
Okay.
Female physicians who are just struggling because they're burnt out, they're stressed. Life is
Mhm.
also giving them a double whammy in one
Yes.
form or the other. And
Yes.
so in those situations, we're used to just keep going more and more
Mhm.
because that's what we did. It was
Mhm.
ingrained in us. You
It
just keep
is.
adding stones to the backpack and you just keep going up the treadmill. And that's not normal. We have
Yeah.
to just learn how to actually let those things go and find the right support structure and learn tools that will actually help us get past to the next stage.
So if someone were to contact you, and I'm going to put up first your website so people can, find out and learn more about you. And so if someone were to contact you and say, okay, I really need help, what should they expect?
Yeah, so we'll go through a coaching program and we'll revisit their values, what are they interested in. We'll look at their thoughts. We'll look at how they're counteracting stress. We'll
Mhm.
look at what they're actually hoping to gain from life. I mean, it's amazing how many women they've changed their lives around and they're
Mhm.
now so happy because they're able to do things that they forgot that they enjoy doing. They're able to find that, yes, I can still find happiness. Yes, I'm in my 40s. Yes, I may be close to 50 or just about 50, but I'm still able to do things that make me happy despite this situation, despite this little, well, not little, this obstacle that I face. I could still do this. So we go through a very systematic way of navigating thoughts, strategies, tools to counteract, how to navigate all those things to get to that point B. Yes.
And how long typically does someone work with you?
3 months.
3 months? Okay.
Mhm.
And if they need longer, is that possible?
Oh yes, that's always an option.
Okay. I was
Yeah,
like, 'cause,
yeah.
I'm
There are
sitting here
definitely
as a
people
female
who've gone on
doctor.
longer because like this is making so much sense. I need to keep doing this because I'm getting such good results.
Well, I'm going to put your contact information now. That's the email, mindyoucoaching@gmail.com. And so is there anything you'd like to add to what you've told us so far? Like just any part of wellness, of either identifying what we need, getting what we need. Because if someone say is not a female doctor, who would they go turn to? If or do you have help people find other people who do the same thing? Just really anything that you'd like to close with.
Sure. And yes, and that is true. There are other great coaches that also
Mhm.
do the same thing, and they will also help professional women or just anyone who wants help. But there are also
Okay.
therapists available out there.
Hmm.
And it's something like I mentioned earlier, we should all think about having one because it makes a difference, whether we're looking back or looking forward, but ideally just charting that course forward to give us a more authentic experience so we actually enjoy what we're doing and finding that
Okay.
joy in everyday living as opposed to just dreading every day. I mean, we can't
Hmm.
do that on a day to day basis. So we need to find those areas that are problematic, fine tune it, and
Hmm.
get it moving smoothly again.
Well, thank you. So you see, I'm not the only one who talks about this. I know people get sick of hearing me talk about stress and wellness, but thank you so much for coming on. This will be on our Facebook pages and also on YouTube. So if you watch this later, please let us know by putting hashtag replay. And thank you so much for joining me. This is just such an important topic, so important that I'm going to ask you to come back again, if you will,
Thank you.
because really we just people just cannot hear this enough.
True,
You
true,
really, 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 and I think this
true.
is probably what's killing us more than anything else,
It
is
is.
our lack of attention to the stress and our
It
wellness. So
is. It is. It
yeah.
is. And we can't fix we can't fix the big companies, but we have to work with
Hmm.
ourselves and manage our own interactions and how we do those things with them
Hmm.
for our
Yeah,
own well-being. So it's
I
so
agree.
important. So
It is.
important.
It is. Well, thank you for those of you who joined in, and that is our evening.
Thank you
But
so
I
much.
really really appreciate this. And so again, if you'd like to contact Dr. Nicole, mindfulyoucoaching@gmail.com. And thank you, Chris, again, for always being so supportive. And um and so and it's really first step, look inward, see if you really understand that you can get help. It's not
Mhm.
a sign of weakness, it's not a
Yeah.
sign of being broken. It's just simply a way of putting things back together, bolstering the things that you already have and eliminating the things that you don't really need. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Dr. Catherine.
Oh, great, everyone. Good night. See you next Tuesday at Dr.
Good night.
Tumor Talks on Tuesday. Bye.
Bye.